Hey yo, what it do? What's up? What's good? Holla at your girl. You know what it is. I'm sorry, like every time, like Sanbonani, no wakaya, can't change. How you doing? Welcome to another episode of hashtag. Don't forget the hashtag Maddy on everything. Let's get it. Yo, you know it's Maddy. You know I'm back with that fire. Could never leave you guys hanging for way too long. You know what's up. Yo, what's good, everyone? Hi, everybody. It's me again. I'm here. I'm alive. I've made it. It's your girl Maddie on everything. Well, it's your girl Maddie, bringing you Maddie on everything. Maddie T, you know what it is. Zamama Dunks, also known as It's Maddie Money. I think I want to add a new nickname. I don't know. Today is the day I'm announcing my new alter ego that I landed on. This alter ego, but then should I tell you guys? Because then you wouldn't like. I want to like write with this person, so you guys shouldn't know who she is, should you? No, I'll tell you another time. I'm not gonna tell you guys today because I don't want you guys to know who it is. But anyway, I have a fourth like one, and I don't know when I'm gonna release it to you guys, but there's a fourth one, you know. But guys, welcome. You know, after all of that hullabaloo, welcome to episode 4 of season 2. Thank you so much for being with me. And today I'm going to be continuing with where we left off, right? So I'm still on Maddie on legals as our first insert for this episode. And then from then on, I'm going to be ending it off with part 2 or the last part of this 2-part soul series that I started with you guys in the previous episode, right? So yes, I'm happy that you guys are here, and let's kill it, let's rock with it, and I hope that you enjoy this knowledge that I'll be sharing with you today. So without further ado, so guys, with this Maddie on Legals inserts. I'm very, very excited to be sharing with you guys a part of me today that I really thought I needed to put in my opinion. I think it's important that my opinion be there because of the fact that I'm a conveyancer, right? So for those of you who don't know what a conveyancer is, so remember I told you guys I'm an attorney, notary, and conveyancer, and what a conveyancer does is we are specialized property attorneys. So basically we write a specialized exam and then we get admitted as conveyancers of the High Court, wherein which we are the only agents within the law who can basically transfer property in South Africa. I don't know how it works in other jurisdictions, but here in South Africa, that is how it works. So if you buy a house from somebody, you're going to need a conveyancer. If you gonna transfer land from the state to wherever, you're gonna need a conveyancer. So that is what conveyancers do. So for me to become a conveyancer, a lot of people might think, oh, the money, huh? No. I think as I went to Wits and I started learning more about property, I started getting very, very passionate and engaged in terms of what property means and what property, in the context of South Africa, And I think, when we look at the landscape of South Africa, guys, land is a huge debate. It's a huge debacle. So that is then what inspired me to actually pursue, this career or to write this exam of conveyancing. Trust me, it's really not for the money, okay? Because there's other ways to make money, So I did this because I wanted to have an understanding of what was going on. So for today, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the expropriation bill, and I just really think I would love my audience to and my community to have a view of what I have to say about this, because really one of the most topical scholars on this topic so far has been advocate Tembeka Ngugai Toby. And, he's been the voice really and, the mouthpiece from the legal perspective on what we have to say on expropriation. And outside of him, I would say, there's the other political parties that have been quite vocal is actually the Freedom Front, right? That is what I've been seeing in the media, is that the Freedom Front has been the political party that has been, quite vocal in opposition of the expropriation bill. So I really wanted to bring the expropriation bill, and just kind of give everyone a little bit of a high level view of what I think about it, and then have everyone come to their own conclusions and pass on this knowledge before we get into our next insert. So, guys, essentially, what is expropriation? Okay, expropriation. I don't want to go too much into the legalese of it. I'm not going to go too much into the legalese because I think that's where we lose people. So I want people to be able to relate with what I have to say. Okay, so expropriation is basically where the state comes in and acquires certain land, right? So it expropriates this land, it takes this land for its own use, and it's for its own purpose. Okay, this is just the high level part of it. And this use is usually for the public interest. Okay, it has to be for the public interest. Okay, so they would be doing schools, they would be doing the RDP houses, they would be doing clinics, things like that, right? Perhaps land restitution issues, and that is where the expropriation the expropriation act and or bill comes in. So it governs how the government can actually take this land for a public interest. So now the issue, or the what I would say, contention, right? Okay, before we get to the contention, the context of this, guys. So why is this important in South Africa? Guys, we all know. If we don't know, now you know. This is important in South Africa considering our history, considering our apartheid history, right? And considering not just apartheid, but where we come from as a country in terms of how land was acquired in this country, okay? And how, certain wars were fought, and how, people found, going back to what I talk about, when I speak about the lobolas and the fact that we have customary law, which is the living law of this land that was found here. Same thing. We are back here again, right? Where we are saying that this is reform. This is us considering where we come from as a country, how land was dispossessed from the indigenous people of this country, and how the indigenous people of this country were placed in different places, and now we're still suffering due to certain, for example, legislation like the Group Areas Act, and putting Black people or indigenous people of this country in certain spaces, and the white people or the Caucasian people of this country in certain other spaces. And these are the issues that we're still facing today as a country. And these are the issues that bills like the expropriation bill aim to address and redress. Now that we have the purpose, what are we doing, right? What is mostly, now I'm talking about, we know what expropriation is. We know why we want to do it. What is the issue? So now we're going into, what is Freedom Front going on about? Why is this controversial? Why is Donald Trump in the conversation? Why are there Amerikaners? Someone needs to enlighten me about, where, white farmers are being killed in South Africa, because I live in South Africa and I follow the news. There are bigger things happening in South Africa, like gender-based violence, not the killing of white farmers. You know what I mean? Because this is South Africa and we have GNU, Government of National Unity. And if there was something crazy like that happening with the white farmers, trust me, the DA would be on top of it. Trust. And Freedom Front would be on top of it. They really wouldn't need Donald Trump. So if people could actually think like that and understand that. But nonetheless, what is the issue? What are we fighting about, guys? So I think one of the most controversial, I don't know, JP Landman, who I loved, who spoke at Agritech, about like the economy, mentioned briefly that, the expropriation bill has a few things that we need to iron out. And once we iron that out, there should be no problems. So what are those things, guys? Let's get to the bottom of what are the issues, because at a theoretical level, there shouldn't be. But what I've identified as an issue is the nil compensation. Okay. So that is, I think, one of the biggest things that everyone is going on about, to say, You're going to expropriate and you're not going to pay. Okay. So that is a problem. So everyone's like, how are you going to do nil compensation? So guys, I've done a little bit of reading, of course, and I've previously been interested in this, and I want to just go down this issue of nil compensation for anyone willing to listen. So they are saying the bill lists some circumstances where nil compensation might be considered just and equitable. So guys, I need everyone to firstly understand that the state is not saying that we're going to straight up take your land without compensation. No. So let's demystify the expropriation bill. The state is not saying we are going to come in here and we are going to take it without. No, that's not what they're saying. They're actually having to negotiate with you first. Okay, they're actually supposed to negotiate with the owner first. But what happens is that they are listing certain instances where it might be just and fair to say we cannot pay you in this instance, or we're not going to pay you in this instance. And these are the instances that I'm highlighting now. So that is land that is not being used or developed, and where the owner's primary intention is to benefit from market value appreciation. Okay. Secondly, land held by a state entity that is not being used for its core functions and was acquired at no cost. Okay, makes sense. Abandoned land. Okay, makes sense. And land where the market value is equivalent to or less than the value of past state investment or subsidy in the land. Okay, we can go into the thematics of all that. But guys, those are the instances where they're saying compensation might be no compensation. And I just want us to look at it and rationalize in that fashion to say, okay, think about it. If your land is abandoned, why can we not take this land and put a clinic on it? Why can't we take this land and put a school on it? You haven't been on this land for 30 years or however long. We've tried to find you. We cannot find you. You know what I mean? We have ways that we have things that we put into place to say we've tried to look for this person. Why on earth would it be a problem to expropriate that land at nil compensation when there's nobody to pay? Those are just some of the rationales that I'm, thinking of and considering when, trying to think what is the pushback really behind this expropriation bill, and let us have a conversation about it, right? So, we really do need to look at, for example, land held by a state entity that is not being used for its core functions and was acquired at no cost. Guys, we have lots of land in South Africa where the state owns this piece of land, the state owns that piece of land, railway track, this, that, a parking lot, and it's not being used, so literally, those are some of the things. So I just wanted to, mention this from the perspective of we as a country need to come together and understand who we are, where we come from, and what it took to bring us here to this point, as South Africans, where we still have a long way to go, and I think that we need to be clear, and not have all this propaganda as to now, we want to take away land without, paying people. Let's really think about all of these things, with a sound mind, and, let's come to work together for the development of our country. Because one of the things, and I'm going to end it off here, one of the things that people are not ready to talk about is that here in this country, we actually owe a lot to the apartheid government, right? Now, people, let us not be blockers to us actually progressing, because we see that things are deteriorating in the country. Do you understand? So we see that Joburg is in flames. We see that, we have issues with our budget. We're not growing as a country. Do you know what I mean? So we as, let us look at our history, not be blockers. Let us be honest, government of GNU. Let us be honest as to where we come from as a country and say, okay, we owe a lot to, the previous government, but let's not block this current government from progressing, because we need to actually develop schools. We need to actually have hospitals. We need infrastructure. We need foreign direct investment in this country. So if we look at expropriation in that fashion and not in the real way that it actually is aimed, which is for the public interest, then we actually not going to be progressing as a country. And that is problematic because we all live in South Africa. Or is South Africa for certain people and the rest of, the people at the bottom just get the weight of people who say, no, expropriation is not good for the country, when it's probably the best way that the government could unlock pockets of land for development in the country. Y'all need to think about this properly, for real. Otherwise, we're not growing anywhere. We're not growing as an economy, and be very sad. So anyway, I'm moving on because I've spoken to you guys about the expropriation, but I'm moving on. That just tired me out. Okay, cool. So guys, so for now, we're done with the expropriation bill, and I'm going to be moving on to the second insert, which is part 2 of the soul session. Okay. So we're going to take a moment. We're going to breathe, and we're going to go right into what I want to chat to you guys about in our soul session today. So guys, part 2 of the soul session that I have for you guys is talking about the cost of your new life. Okay, the cost of your new life. Coming to you guys from what perspective? I'm coming from the perspective of, the spirituality, this, I want to manifest this life. I want to manifest, these new friends. I want to manifest this new car. And then, I'm practicing my spiritual hygiene and I'm really doing good. I'm not gossiping about people. I'm, spending time on my own. I'm connecting with nature, but I'm also spending time with people who uplift me, and I'm having fun and I'm dancing. So what is it now? So now, if there's still something that is saying you're doing all of these things, but you're not where you want to be, or you want to get to the next level, there's a level, then this is for you. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm saying the cost of your new life. So this is coming from the perspective of, we deep transformation, guys. This is basically what this topic is talking about. The cost of your new life, deep transformation. So we can be superficial about things. We can be surface level about things. I want to change. I'm becoming this global superstar. I'm manifesting, right? And you say these things, and you do the practices and all of these things, but the real truth is that deep transformation is not pretty. And I think that's where I'm at with this conversation. And I think this kind of conversation also leads on from a previous episode that we had, actually the finale of season 1 with Miss Boitumelo Lekoko, which is going to war with yourself, right? So what I'm talking about today is, if you are at a certain point in your life and you feel as though, I want to get into the next level, I am trying to tap into that next level, I am trying to tell you what the cost of that looks like. And that's probably something that you're going through right now, which is probably why you would probably still be here. That's why you'd be interested to say, what is the cost of my new life? So guys, the cost of your new life is your old life. I'm sure you've heard this on social media, or, I'm not going to basically reinvent the wheel and tell you certain things that you haven't heard before. But what I want to do is give you my perspective and my worldview that maybe you might relate to. So we are hearing that the cost of your new life is your old life. I am saying I can confirm that. These are things that I've heard people talk about, and I'm saying this is true. But now we're going to debunk what that actually means. There's a few metaphors that I want to work with you guys with, or analogies that I want to work with you guys with, so that will lead you into noticing, what I mean, what could be happening around you. That is this cost of your new life, which is me trying to help you or guide you through these things that seem so traumatic. That's why we're here, right? Because the cost of your new life, switching from your old life, is very traumatic. It's a deep transformation. So if you don't know what's happening, or if you can't see what's happening, you might think everything is falling apart when it's actually just falling into place, right? So that's where I'm coming from. And the first analogy and I want to work with you guys, is the butterfly analogy, the worm to butterfly. You know, we have the situation where you're a worm, you know, little old worm, and you gonna, you just have all these little mini feet and all these things, okay, and you just eat a leaf, and then I don't know what happens, but by this miracle of conception, you you start weaving a cocoon. You start weaving a cocoon, you know? And what is that cocoon? That is a cocoon of silence and solitude. What did I say about spiritual hygiene? You're elevating, right? You're wanting to elevate your spirit. You're alone. It's silence. You're waving a cocoon, you know. And in this cocoon, if you notice, it's just you. So you're gonna be isolated, okay? And it's dark. Mm-hmm. It's dark in the cocoon, and you're in there for a couple of days, couple of weeks, whatever. Ain't no friends around. Ain't no friends around in the cocoon. It's just you. You know what I mean? It's just you in the cocoon. So I hope you guys are working with me here, because this is, kind of analogies that have been taught unto me from spiritual leaders from the church and such. You know what I mean? To say, "I butterfly." You transform. You are alone. And then the next thing you know, you get out of the cocoon, you have changed. You are this bright, beautiful thing with pink wings and purple wings and yellow, and you are fluttering about in the sunlight. Fly, fly, fly. You went from crawling, a worm, to flying. But what was that process? What was that process? So that is the cost that I'm talking about. I'm talking about that cost from becoming a worm, your old life, to becoming a butterfly, your new life. It's a cocoon. It's a cocoon. And I'll get into it. I mean, these are analogies. The other analogy I want to work with you guys is the diamond analogy. Guys, how does a diamond come about? It comes about under pressure. A diamond is found deep in the earth. Y'all have heard this one, I'm sure. Y'all have heard this one, but it's real. It's real. I want it to sink in that a diamond is under the ground, under pressure. So a diamond is formed where, things are not seen. You know what I'm saying? It is dark. It is under pressure. And it takes time as well. It takes years to form diamonds. You know what I mean? And they come from coal. So they come from something black and something black thing that you would just, okay, coal is valuable, but you know what I mean? It's just a black thing. But under pressure, it turns into this beautiful stone. So I just want you guys to have that view of what I am saying when I'm talking about the cost of your new life is your old life. So guys, how do you know? Right? This is where how do you know that, okay, look, I'm ready now? Or okay, like maybe I need to shed my old life. It's not working for me. How do you know that you're ready? So I am going to just share with you a few of the things that would signal to me that you are ready to let go of your old life, okay? And maybe that's why you're feeling uncomfortable. Number one, I've got a couple, and it might be all over the place, but this is real. This is coming from me. Number one, so you're the smartest person in the room. Guys, if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You have to be in rooms where you are learning from people, where people know more than you do. You know what I mean? So that is diverse groups of people. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you are literally in the same loop, you get what I'm saying? It's a loop. It's like, oh, it's Susie on Monday and it's Jackie on Tuesday, and we going to do that, and we going to do that. And if that's not okay with you, if that's not sitting okay with you, so you need to notice those patterns in your life. So if you notice that, look, I'm thinking far ahead of the people that I'm with. I'm not at the same space as the people. We spend time together, but they don't say anything that interests me or that actually makes me feel like, okay, great, I want to see you again. Then that's what I mean by you're the smartest in the room. You are the one that has the vision. You're not with other movers and shakers. You're not with other people that can point you in the right direction. Then what are you doing in that room, Which leads me to number two. Old things don't excite you anymore. So the same, dates that you used to have with Susie on Tuesday and Jackie on Wednesday, and now you're like, I'm bored of this. So that's what I'm kind of saying. You're like, I'm bored of this now, And then you shouldn't be like, I'm depressed. No, which is another sign, by the way, don't be like, I'm depressed. No, it's like you are ready to get into whatever it is that you're avoiding. You're ready to step into this thing that makes you feel that I don't want to be around these people anymore. Do you get what I mean? So that's kind of how you would notice something like that, you know? You're not excited by the things that used to excite you. You don't want to even drink anymore. You don't even want to, have sex anymore. And your wife's like, what's wrong with you? It's like, dude, you're just like, you're not trying to leave your wife. You're probably just like, yo, I need to like launch that product that I've been, sleeping on. You need to get to your next level. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so your world is falling apart is number 3. So that's another way. Like I mentioned now, if you hear me out, I was like, you don't even want to have sex with your wife. So your world is falling apart. Because why? Because your wife is like, dude, what's going on? Like my marriage, da 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 da. At work, maybe you don't feel like going to work, so things are not going so well for you at work as well. So you should know that it's time for your spiritual upgrade and it's time for you to lock in. You know what I'm saying? Now your new life is calling you and you know what it is. I don't even need to tell you what it is. You know what it is, right? And number 4 that I kind of landed on is that you're headed somewhere that's not where you are. So intuitively, deep down, because that's a discontentment. So I need you guys to understand that there's other people who, live on a day-to-day, going to work, doing whatever. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm also fine with that. Like, it's okay. But if you have a certain discontent, if there's something that says, I'm not happy with this, you have to change your situation, okay? Whether it's you'll know what it is. But if you are discontent about something, then you know that, okay, look, I'm not supposed to be here. There's something else that's calling me. Please, by all means, try and like discover what that is, And yeah, so that's some of, what I've highlighted to note that, you might notice. And what I briefly mentioned was depression. So like I said, you could find yourself that you're depressed, also like linked to your world is falling apart, right? So you could be someone whose your world is falling apart, but you handle it well. Or you could be someone where now you're actually getting into that depression. And that is, realizing that, hey, I actually have to change. I actually have to go into this deep period of isolation. And, I have to go and see, what's out there for me. And you know what makes it sad as well in the depression is that your old belief system and everything that you thought you liked and everything before then has changed. Now you're like, who am I? You know what I mean? Because can you imagine you were a worm and now you're half a worm and now you're like, but what's going on? And it's like, you have to get into the state. You have to get in. It's calling you, and you think, oh my gosh, you have to change everything, how you see things, how you do things. And that's the scary thing, Other things that you will notice, guys, like just over, as I close it off, linked to certain things like your world is falling apart, is that you will trigger people. That's just more at a personal level. You might start triggering people out of nowhere. People start like being mad at you, upset at you, your colleagues, your co-workers. Another thing is that people will start talking crazy about you. You might even start feeling the energy. You might even start feeling energy shifts in certain friend groups and all that. Guys, it's not okay and it's not going to be easy, but that is the cost of your new life. So if you know that there is more for you, and I'm literally like closing it off there, to say, if you know that there is more for you in this life, if you know that you are destined for more, these things are probably going to happen to you, especially when you're not where you're supposed to be, especially when you're in a situation that you're not supposed to be in, right? So like the universe / God will try and remove you from that situation, So if you are supposed to be an entrepreneur and you are working a 9 to 5, yes, you're going to start fighting with your boss, If you are, with a group of friends that doesn't mean well for you and, you're not supposed to be, yes, you're going to start feeling that like these people are talking about me. You're going to start feeling that energy, and trust they're going to also like let it slip that they feel a way about you, and don't ignore it. Move with it. And that's my timer, So I just wish that this can help, whoever listens, to say that when these things are happening, don't think, oh my gosh, my life is ending and, all these things. This is part of it. You're going to start to notice things. You're going to have revelations. You're also going to have new connections coming into your life. You're going to start to see that there's a new wave of people that want to make their way into my life, because you're moving into that new space. You're going to see that, oh, okay, I'm gonna need to, start moving differently because I'm noticing certain things about people. So yeah, that's really all I have to say for you guys today. And I hope that it really, helps you, that, guys, you are the only person that's responsible for your glow up. So trust other people also. They're gonna be naysayers. They're going to tell you, like I said, they're going to talk crazy about you. So that's something I want you to also, that's something we're going to get to, which is the confidence, because this requires confidence. All of this that I'm saying, overcoming that, requires confidence. And by me sharing this with you, I want to inspire confidence in you to say, oh, Maddy said I'm going to go through this. This is what she's talking about. This is exactly. So be confident in stepping into that new level and that new era, because that's what it's going to demand from you. But before you get into that new level, trust that old reality has to break away. It has to break away. So if you are saying you are queen, you can definitely not still be operating in peasant energy. You feel me? Right? And if all you've ever known is to be a peasant your whole life, it might do a lot of unlearning for you to step into your queendom. You feel me? But don't shy away. Don't shy away. Lean into it. I love you guys. I'll see you for episode 5. Bye.